In this video, I'll demonstrate how to crack SSH private key passwords using John the Ripper. So you should always secure your SSH keys, your SSH private key with a password. And that password should be secure. It should be strong, complex, and it should be a long password. A simple password is easy to crack. Now, we'll demonstrate this. We'll start by creating a public private key pair using SSH-keygen. Let's give it a type, so -T RSA. And -B 4096, and then hit enter. So we want to save the key. We don't want to save it in the home SSH folder, the default folder for SSH keys. We want to store it right here. So I can just type in the name. So I'm going to call it test_RSA and enter a password phrase. In this case, I'm going to use something very simple. So we could demonstrate it being cracked. So now if I look in the current folder, I have my public private key pair. I have test RSA, which is the private key, and test RSA.pub, the public key. Now, if we look at the contents of test RSA using cat, we can see that there's this SSH private key. Now, in order to use John the Ripper or the John command, we need it in the supported format. So there's a command called ssh2john, and we can give it the test RSA greater than, so we're going to put this output from ssh2john into test_RSA.hash. Now, if we look at test_RSA.hash using the cat command, you can see it's in a slightly different format, but it's a format compatible with John the Ripper. Now we can run our John command. So we want John test_RSA.hash and then _Wordlist. So we need to give it a word list equals /usr/share/wordlists/ let's use wifi.txt for this first example. So it does take a little bit of time to run. And it shows that it will run using 4 OpenMP threads. So it's a multi-threaded or multi-process application. And you probably can't hear it over the microphone, but I can hear my computer's fan spinning up. So it's actually doing a fair bit of work to try and crack this key. And then the stronger the password, the more complex it is, the harder this will be for a computer. And you'll need more and more powerful computers to crack more and more complex hashes, which will take more and more time. So if you have a long password, something 14 characters or greater, or even 20 characters or longer, if you're storing the password for your SSH keys in a password manager and using something complex, this could take hundreds of years on the most powerful computers in the world. That's why password complexity and length is so important. So the process is still working away even after 10 minutes, and it hasn't found the password yet. So it's quite an intensive process, and it may take some time, even with simple passwords. We have a way of forcing it. So I hit Q. You can see it's been running for 8.5 minutes, and it still haven't found a result. So let's trick the result. So I'm going to create a file to echo, and I'll give it the string abc123, and I'll put that into a file called abc123.txt. Now I'll run John on test_RSA.hash. And my word list, so _wordlist equals abc123.txt. And you can see that it found it almost immediately. As you can see, brute forcing is not always trivial, even if there's a fair bit of complexity in your hashed password. Now, the usual advice in these situations is never expose your private keys, always put a password on them, and make sure it's a strong password. And that concludes this demonstration of cracking SSH passwords using John the Ripper.